الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله أوله بلا أول كان قبل وآخره بلا آخر يكون بعده الذي قصرت عن رؤيته أبصار الناظرين وعجزت عن نعته أوهام الواصفين ثم الصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا حبيبنا وطبيب نفوسنا أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين أبي القاسم محمد
اللهم صل على محمد
وعلى الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين واللعنة الدائمة على أعدائهم وغاصب حقوقهم ومنكر فضائلهم ومناقبهم أجمعين من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين أما بعد عظم الله أجورنا وأجوركم والسلام عليكم جميعا إذن ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Come a bit forward, please. I'll break them from the back so that you don't disturb anything. So come a bit forward so that there's some space in the back, please. Thank you very much. But Muhammad Wali Muhammad Salawat.
Address especially to our youth, our youngsters here. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. We are gathered today here in order to commemorate the atrocities that befell upon Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, peculiarly that we are approaching, that we are in the month of Safar, which is marks the martyrdom of Hazrat Sakinah. Hazrat Sakinah was the daughter of Imam Husain alayhi salam.
بلندتر صلوات
And it has been the case that daughters are the inheritors of the spirituality, manaviyat, of the fathers in a very different way. The way how daughters inherit is different to how sons inherit. We have seen the examples of how Bibi Fatima and Rasulullah, the relationship of Bibi Fatima and Rasulullah, and how Bibi Fatima inherited the spirituality from the father. They say that relationship of Hazrat Sakinah and Imam Husain was like the relationship of Bibi Fatima and Rasulullah.
بلندتر صلوات
In the like manner, we also have the example of Amir al-Mu'min, Hazrat Ali alayhi salam, and Bibi Zainab. The way Bibi Zainab inherited the spirituality, the knowledge and the understanding is par excellence. So the relationship of Bibi Sakinah and Imam Husain was of that accord, of Hazrat Zainab and Amir al-Mu'mineen. Ayatollah Jawad Aumali, a great contemporary philosopher, scholar, marja, he's also a marja. He says and he asserts that reciting of the Quran from the head of Imam Husain alayhi salam was not heard by everyone. Otherwise it would have been a major revolution, or it was only heard by those people who have that spiritual caliber, who have that spiritual quality in them, that strength of delving into, entering to barzakh, and they have that capability and capacity. They was able to listen at the Quran, that the head is reciting the Quran. Here I will mention one thing in the margin. Those people who are on the highest level of the spectrum, they would delve into barzakh and they could hear barzakh and they could see barzakh. And that's why you have the priest in Halab who saw the nur coming from the heaven upon the head of Imam Husain. And he saw the Anbiya and Awliya descending to respect the head of Imam Husain alayhi salam, because he had that spiritual quality in him that he could see that. Or for example, you have some of the companions of Imam Husain alayhi salam who said that we could hear a lady crying every night. And Imam Husain said, "This is Zahra, this is my mother who have come with me from Medina when I left, and she is here. And these cries is of her." So the ashab of Imam Husain had the capacity to really enter Barzakh, to really see Barzakh. So those who are on the highest end of the spectrum, they are capable to do that, and those who are completely the opposite. Like for example, Yazid, he was shocked to see and hear that the head of Imam Husain was reciting Quran. Shimmer, in many of the poetry that we always have, and this is part and parcel of our performing azadari, is to have poetry in the beginning, and mashallah, our youngsters who participate and others, you guys as well, should get involved and participate in reciting poetry in the majalis. And this is how the azadari was performed by the imams, that there would be a poet who would recite the poetry, there will be a lecturer who would give the lecture, and imam would attend the majalis and the azadari. So in the poetry, many a times these are the translation of the riwayat and hadith in a form of a poetry, like Mir Anis, Dabir, and many other. And they depict what really happened in the maqatir. Like for example, in one of the couplets of Mir Anis, it says that, Shimmer utters that I'm gonna sever the head of brother and sister together. Ek khanjar se bhai aur bahan ka gala kaatunga. Then the voice echoes that, "Oh Shimmer, you are Nabina, you can't see." This is actually not Zainab but Zahra. So the presence of Bibi Fatima Zahra on the day of Ashura, even before that, was established by Imam Husain himself. Now Shimmer is at the opposite side of the spectrum, where he could see that there is somebody, a lady in the Qatlga, and he thinks that this is Zainab, but actually that was Zahra who was present there. So therefore, the Hazrat Sakinah Salamul Alaiha, whose gathering is also tonight to remember the atrocities, she was capable at that young age of 3, could hear the recitation of the Quran from the head of Imam Husain alayhi salam. So this shows that how strong she was in terms of her spirituality and manaviyat. Vis-a-vis other ladies who were there, who were taken prisoners as well, but they perhaps may not be able to listen the way Hazrat Sakinah was able to. So today's gathering is to remember Hazrat Sakinah Salamul Alaiha. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, she is also a Babul Hawaij, just like how Bibi Fatima Zahra is a Babul Hawaij. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala fulfill the hajat of the Sahib Bayt and also of all of your mu'mineen and mu'minat who have joined here. Let's see. Salat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
As we are in the days of Ziyarah of Imam Husain alayhi salam, but peculiarly the Ziyarah Arba'in, which have been overwhelmingly emphasized, we just wanted to reflect a bit upon the quintessential reality of Ziyarah itself. Quintessential actually means the perfect, the most perfect reality, the most, how would I say, important, essential reality of what Ziyarah is. Now, just in the margin, Ziyarat is actually what? A person departs from point A to point B with the intention of visitation. Whether this departure be departure towards a house of a mu'mineen, as you all have gathered here, and which is also highly, highly recommended. The presence of Siddiqa Kubra is already here because she is the main owner of the Majlis. And as she is the main owner of the Majlis, it was Zainab who established the first Majlis.
आकाज़ादी की ज़ात पर बुलंदतर सलावत।
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allah Tabai would say that if somebody wants to go visit Imam Husain alayhi salam, if he is far, then he could go give salams to Imam Husain under the sky, or he could go attend a Majlis of Imam Husain. So attending a Majlis of Imam Husain, according to Allama Tabatabai, is visiting Imam Husain. The visitation is that ziyarah. That's why they say that he would be the first one to come and last one to leave when he would attend the Majlis. So these gatherings are very powerful. These gatherings bring a lot of blessing and barakah, opens our heart to our path, to our maqsad, where we are heading. So departure from point A to point B, that's what it is. And usually departures, we leave in order to acquire something that we don't have, even if that be that we go for a, buy something in a shop. And it's a departure. We go to the Ziyarah of the shop for what? To get something that we don't have. So that means we lack something. As we lack something, we are moving in order to acquire that. That's why, our seniors, they used to say that harkat mein barkat. We have to do harkat. The whole alam, the whole creation is moving. But we have to consciously move towards Kamal before we've been pushed and moved. Ya ayyuhal insan innaka kadihun ila rabbika kadhan famulaqi. This whole creation, whole insan is moving for meeting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But the more valuable would be that a person moves with consciousness that we are moving towards Allah, because that brings a greater preparation, of that meeting, and that meeting makes it more valuable. So going even to a grocery store, it's moving in order to acquire something that we don't have. So this is more of a horizontal movement as such, rather than the vertical. Now, visitation is more where Mir Damad, which was a very famous philosopher of 16th century, and he was known Mir Damad because Muhakkak al-Karaki was a great scholar and a contributor towards Shia school of thought. He was the Damad of Muhakkak al-Karaki. There were only two Muhakkak in terms of reality. In India and Pakistan, we have a fashion of saying Allama, and whatnot. But within the seminary tradition, names and titles are given with a lot of cautiously. There's only one. There are two muhakkak known as. Or for example, Allama. There are only 2 or 3 Allama known in the history. Which we say Allama Tabatabai or Allama Majlisi or Allama Hasanzade Amali. You don't even say Allama Jawadi Amali. You don't now. Probably they may start saying that. So Allama Muhakkak al-Karaki was a great muhakkak, and his son-in-law was Mir Damad. So he becomes Mir and Damad of the Mir, like that. That's how the title comes. But his real name was Sayyid Muhammad Baqir Astarabadi. And in his book Al-Qabasat, which is one of the famous works, and actually he was the father-in-law of Mullah Sadra as well. Mir Damad was father-in-law of Mullah Sadra as well, and a teacher as well of Mullah Sadra, a great philosopher. In that book, he mentions, while quoting Ibn Sina, Avicenna, who also writes in his Risala, which is one of his works, treatise, in regards to visitation, in regards to Ziyarah of the graves of the awliya. Fakhr Razi, who was the great Sunni scholar as well, one of his famous tafsir is Tafsir Kabir. He writes as well in regards to visitation. So the Ziyarah among the Ahle Shi and Sunni was well respected and recommended based on the teachings of the Quran and Ahle Bayt alayhi salam, on the Quran and Sunnah of Ahle Bayt. Fakhr Razi, he himself says that in his book, that when the students of Aristotle, they were stuck in resolving any philosophical problem, they would go to the grave of Aristotle and do tawassul, or would do mubahasa, discussion, next to the grave of Aristotle. And through that, the philosophical problems that they have, those will be resolved. This is Fakhr Razi. Ibn Sina and also Mir Damad, quotes saying that there are 2 types of attachment or visitation. One is the attachment of that physical visitation or physical sort of attachment that a person have. because based upon the looks perhaps, one is attached, and then one creates that relationship because of that, right? The other is the spiritual, the attachment of the soul, because of the qualities of the soul that a person have. Now, when a visitor visits a grave, that physical attachment is no longer there because the person is dead. Or, for example, that physical attachment is no longer there because we don't really know how the person looks like in terms of having that physical connection, right? So, therefore, that attachment will still be there because of the qualities of the soul that the person has, the kamalat, the perfections that this soul have achieved. Based on that, you are making that visitation, you are making that ziyarah. And these qualities of which this soul have acquired, like for example, if you go to a grave of awliya and masumi, the qualities that they have acquired, those are eternal. Yes, the body have gone, but in terms of the qualities, that will always remain with that person, and it will be there. And those are metaphysical qualities. Right? It doesn't really require that physical sort of, connection to the body as such. Having said that, there is a relationship of the body and the soul. The soul really have connected through the body to the divine, and this remains. That that is the point of departure, or that is the point or place of that body where it has connected to the metaphysical world. So basically, all of the qualities that a person have, the kamalat and all that, the focus point, the focal point, or the point of focus of those kamalat will be through that physical body. It will connect through that. That's why you have the recommendation of going to the grave itself in order to connect to, on a higher level, to that spiritual qualities of that person. Nevertheless, Masumin alayhi salam, their presence is so humongous, is so vast. That's why even if we go outside in the yard or anywhere, from the comfort of our home, if you say Assalamu alaikum ya Abu Abdullah, our soul connects to those qualities. Now Mirza Ahmad here, he says that when a person attends to a grave, when a person makes that visitation, he is actually invoking those qualities that that person have, of that person who is buried there, and trying to resolve and connect to those qualities and purify oneself and acquire those qualities. Ibn Sina is of the same opinion, that once a person goes there, then he connects. Ibn Sina says that he connects with the al-Abbas, which is the first of creation. Just going there, naturally he will connect to the al-Abbas, through which his mental blocks, his blocks of risk, his blocks of manaviyat and spirituality and perfection that he wants to achieve, all of that will be resolved naturally if he just goes there, to pay that visit, and he will acquire these good qualities through that. And this is a very philosophical twist to the understanding of what ziyarat is. But Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam know that there are different categories of people. Some people have physical nature, some people have the intellectual nature, some people have emotional, some people are sentimental. That's why they have just emphasized that it is very important that you come to our grave, and it is the right of ours on you that you pay us a visit when we die. It's the haqq of the Imam, that you should come to us. And even they are pushing us so much so that we acquire those qualities, so that we benefit by just being our presence. Our mental blocks are lifted, and we carry our journey towards that qurb ilahi. Couple of riwayat in regards to the importance of ziyarat from the Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam, if you will. It says that لو أن أحدكم حج ألف حجة. I just remember what Agha Sahab just recited, which State Secretary Ijaz Bhai मौका दिया था, उन्होंने कहा था कि, he said, if you do 1,000 sajda and don't have love of Imam Husain in the heart, is useless. Rasulullah Khuda is saying the same thing. He says, if you do 1,000, a person does 1,000 Hajj, Alf Hajj, ثم يأتي القبر الحسين ابن علي لكان قد ترك حقا من حقوق الله تعالى. And if he doesn't come to the grave of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he has not fulfilled the haqq of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So visitation of the grave of Imam Husain is so important. And it's a must for a mu'min. They say that, a person, وَمَنْ كَانَ لَنَا مُحِبًّا فَلْيَرْغَبْ فِي زِيَارَةِ الْقَبْرِ الْحُسَيْنِ. The one who is our lover will desire and yearn for the ziyarat of qabr of Imam Husain alayhi salam. If a person who does not visit the grave of Imam Husain alayhi salam, they say that yes, that even if that person be a good person, he will enter paradise, but he will be the guest of the paradise. He will be not the guest of Ahlul Bayt. So how can a Shia, a lover of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, will ignore the ziyarat of Imam Husain alayhi salam? Don't we all want to be the guest of Ahlul Bayt? What good is that Jannah if we are not the guest of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam? That Jannah is worthless if we are not in the vicinity. That's what the brother recited. وَجِوَارِ نَبِيِّكَ عَلَيْهِمُ السَّلَامِ. In Taqibat of Zuhr we recite that, oh Allah, put us in the jiwar, in the neighborhood, in the vicinity of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. So that is the Jannah, that is the reality. So a person will enter paradise by being good and will be at the lowest of the lower level if that person haven't performed the ziyarat of Imam Husain. So it is that important that we have that visitation. Now obviously, as we said, that the purpose of pushing and encouraging us so much is so that we acquire those qualities, so that our mental blocks in regards to that vision which the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam wants us to arrive upon in regards to that tawheed, that is reflected in Dua Arafah of Imam Husain. If one really reflect and look at the beauty of Dua Arafah, that's the vision. Like I recently had a few talks, and the topic was that the maximum capacity of understanding tawheed of a human being, of an insan, can be seen, not the Quran, of an insan. Quran is kalamullah. The maximum capacity of a human being to understand tawheed theoretically is reflected in the Dua Arafah of Imam Husain. The maximum capacity. And it is so clear, crystal clear, that there is no need to go and hit shaitan after the day of Arafah for Husain. But rather Husain goes directly to Karbala for that sacrifice. Ibrahim goes from Arafah to hitting the stones for that sacrifice. But Husain, there is no need of hitting any stones. Because that tawheed is so clear for Husain. So the Dua Arafah have that in it. Right? And that's what Imam Husain wants us to achieve. Have that sort of glimpse of that tawheed. And the people who have joined, Imam Husain alayhi salam is on that basis. And that's where Imam Husain is taking them towards that tawheed. So that's the theoretical understanding of that tawheed, knowledge and understanding of what tawheed is, Dua Arafah. Then if one wants to see the practical understanding of that tawheed, is seen on the day of Ashura. So tawheed ilmi is Arafah, tawheed amali is in Ashura. So tawheed in action we can see in the day of Arafah, in the day of Ashura. All those who have joined, they have reflected that. So the ziyarat brings us to that understanding of that tawheed. That if you look at, for example, the recitation of what contains within it, and what we really seek in many of the ziyarat, particularly in terms of the ziyarat Ashura, for example, what are we seeking? We are seeking Maqam Mahmud. We are seeking the same reward of the shuhada of the ashab of Imam Husain alayhi salam. If there was no shahada, there will be no ziyarat of Ashura. the whole purpose of this martyrdom, of this shahadat of Imam Husain alayhi salam, and of this visitation and the ziyarat, is that we mu'mineen achieve that maqam mahmud. We mu'mineen achieve that reward of that shuhada. What is the reward of the shuhada? The reward of the shuhada is based on their understanding, based on their ma'rifat. Right? So this visitation of ours brings that understanding, brings us closer to that understanding of the Lord. See, dua just has a person, dua is what? Dua is the ascent. If there is a descent, as I always say, there will be ascent. अगर नुज़ूल है तो सुऊद भी होगा. जब नुज़ूल कुरान है तो ये कुरान को वापस भी जाना है. So if there is a descent of the Quran should ascend as well. How does the Quran ascend? The Quran ascends through the actions of the mu'mineen, through the actions of the Ahlul Bayt, through the mu'mineen themselves. They ascend in a form of a Quran. They become the Quran, right? Because they don't they don't know what Quran is. They don't know what Allah is, for example. And then it comes. When it comes, they themselves become that Quran in a sense, right? Because that's why Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam and their actions are sometimes becomes the Quran. When Ali gives the ruku, when Ali gives the ring in the ruku, that ayah was not revealed. When Ali gives that, then the ayah comes.
MashaAllah, Narae Haydari.
So, and in the other way, the actions of Ahlul Bayt is nothing but reflecting that Quran itself. So if there is a descent, there is an ascent. And now these awliya, these Masumeen alayhi salam, when they have reached that maqam and that level, and when a person, a visitor, have that understanding and that ma'rifat of that ascending, or the person who have ascended of that person, then it automatically brings the quality and the kamal of that person. That's ziyarat. Dua is the same thing. Dua is that, what is Tawheed have descended in the Quran? Now here I am, it descended upon my heart. I have memorized it. I have tried to understand what that is. And now I want to connect to Allah. Now when I connect to Allah, I connect in the form of a dua. And that's what Dua Arafah becomes. That Quran have purely descended upon the heart of Husain. And then that comes out in the lisan of Husain in the form of a dua. That Tawheed comes out in the lisan of Husain. So, what Husain is saying, is nothing but what the Quran has said in regards to Tawheed in a humanly way that you and I can understand. So that is dua. And the ziyarat, as we have the tradition of ziyarat from Masumeen alayhi salam, ziyarat Aminullah, ziyarat Jami Kabira, ziyarat of all of the awliya that we have, ziyarat Waris, right? Ziyarat of Hazrat Masuma, even from the 8th Imam Mirza alayhi salam. All of this tradition of ziyarat comes from our Masumeen. And the way to recite is when a Masum or when a Waliullah attends to the grave of that person, as he finds the presence of these kamalat, of these purposes, then he just utters these things. And in reality, while he's witnessing all of these things, he's also giving that salam. And in order to show that salam is actually, in one of the commentaries, Ayatollah Tahrir mentioned that when you're saying Assalamu Alaikum, is actually you're saying that this soul is salim from all imperfections. That this soul is pure from all limitations and imperfections. That's why you say Assalamu Alaikum. It's basically, this salam is that you are salam, that you are perfect. You are away from all imperfections.
Khushnudi Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad Balandar Salabat.
The other thing that we find here is that as we say that salam comes from Allah. Anta salam wa ilayka salam wa ilayka yaudu salam. Salam comes from you. Salam is, from you, and salam is to you, and salam returns back to you. So when you and I is giving that salam, it is actually the salam that is coming from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we are blessed to be the medium for reaching this salam to the Masoom. We are nothing but a medium. And this becoming a medium is purifying us. That Allah have chosen us, giving us that opportunity for His salam to be delivered to the Waliullah, to the Masoom.
खुशनुदी मोहम्मद वाले मोहम्मद बलंतर सलावत
That's why, for example, very briefly in regards to the Ziyarah of al-Abbas, which comes from the 6th Imam, he says Salamullah. It doesn't begin with Assalamu alayka, to point out to the maqam of Abul Fazl that there is no me here, that my salam to you, but here the 6th Imam is saying Salamullah. The salam of Allah be on you, not Assalamu alayka Abul Fazl Abbas.
MashaAllah. Bawafa, Bawafa. Ya Abbas, Ya Abbas. Bawafa, Bawafa. Ya Abbas, Ya Abbas. Narae Haidari. Blantar Salabat.
Now, yes, one might say that, oh, how come, for Imam Husain it's not like that? Obviously, the maqam of the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam is, there's no ifs and buts there. It's very clear. The 6th Imam wants to point out to the magnanimity, to the maqam of Abul Fazl. Although there are 14 Masumeen, the maqam of Masumeen is very clear. But look, the maqam of Abbas is that the 6th Imam is saying Salamullah, that he does not wants himself to be part of that. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So therefore the true reality of that ziyarat is actually, understanding of who we are visiting. And only a Waliullah have that honor or right to depict and describe. That's where the ziyarat comes from. So when we go there, we are actually connecting and speaking about these qualities of this person through